Hey guys, welcome back to Coffee and Cartridges. Today we're going to talk about the 6.5 millimeter rifle cartridge Hall of Fame. Stay tuned. Today's coffee is the 1850 brand coffee, Pioneer Blend. Pretty good, pretty good. Love me a good cup of coffee. Enjoyed just talking to you guys about rifle cartridges. Very informal. It is fun. So I want to say something about my last video on the 30 caliber Cartridge Hall of Fame. The more I've thought about it, the more I feel like I've made a mistake. I feel like I should have had the 300 WSM in the Hall of Fame. And I know it's a relatively new cartridge, but the more I've thought about it, the more I think it deserves it. Comment below if you think I'm way off on that. I did see someone say that the 300 H&H should have been in there. Probably right. You know, I'm tempted to put the 300 Rum in there. And one I didn't mention, the 303 British, definitely deserves some thought there. It's got a long military history. In all honesty, there's a lot of cartridges in that 30 calibers cartridge lineup that is pretty good and deserves to be in there. But I just got back to thinking about the 7mm Hall of Fame, and I put in the 280 Ackley Improved, and I got to thinking, you know, it's relatively new as far as being standardized, and you know, it's gaining a following, and it's getting there. But if it deserves to be in there, the 300 WSM definitely deserves to be in there. So I'm making it a retcon to my own list, an amendment, and I'm adding in the 300 WSM. All right, so as I've talked about on every video so far about the Hall of Fame, this is a lot tougher than you think. It's one thing to just pick my favorite cartridges in that caliber. It's another thing to pick the ones that have been around the longest, but to, you know, decide the criteria for what makes a cartridge be in the Hall of Fame is kind of tough. And there's no way around not offending somebody, so it is tough. So 6.5 millimeter. Well, to me, it's an obvious answer to start with, and that's the 6.5 by 55 Swedish. The cartridge is one of the OGs, developed in 1892, came out in 1894 for the Swedish service rifle. So this rifle's been around a long time. It has killed a lot of game. I know over in Norway and Sweden and those areas, Finland, lots of moose, lots of big game have been killed with that for a long, long time. It is definitely a cool vintage cartridge. One thing that's cool about it is, of course, designed as a service rifle for the military. It typically had a longer barrel, and it typically had a very fast twist rate. I think it was 1 in 7.5, even way back then. It was always designed for the heavy bullets, like 160 class bullets. Had long barrel, get a lot of velocity, had a fast twist rate for the heavy bullets. And that's different than most of the other 6.5s that we're going to talk about. They kind of went a different direction. So that cartridge always had the heavy per caliber bullets in mind. And that definitely helps out if you're shooting at soldiers at long range, if you're using it as a sniper rifle. But it also helps out with the sectional density for animals. So, you know, if you're going after a moose and you've got a 160 grain bullet, it's definitely going to penetrate good because of that high sectional density. The cartridge is still around. A few people still chamber for it. It's been modernized. You know, you're going to see 22 to 24 inch barrels now. Twist rate probably, I'm going to say, is 1 in 8 typically. And I'm sure if you look at a reloading manual, you're going to have very low max pressure ratings because of the potential of shooting those very old military rifles. So if you're hand loading in a modern rifle, you can definitely get the max pressure up a lot higher. So there's a lot of potential there that you can get out of it. But man, it's a cool cartridge, and it definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. All right, I'm going to pause for a minute and give an honorable mention. And I was very tempted to put this in the Hall of Fame. I'm sure someone out there is going to think I should have. The .264 Winchester Magnum. My uncle had one of these, killed a lot of deer with it. It's a great cartridge. It's basically a 7 mag. It's a 7mm Remington Magnum, but it's Winchester's version of it, and of course the main difference is it's a different caliber. It's 6.5mm, but that's basically all it is. It's very similar, not exact, but very similar. It's also based off the 300 H&H, which is based off the 375 H&H. Same as all the Weatherby cartridges, has the belt. You know, it's made to fit in a standard or long action. It's a very powerful round. It's got a lot of velocity. In modern days, you know, we have our 6.5 Weatherby RPM, we have our 26 Nosler, we have the 6.5 300 Weatherby. We got lots of, you know, hyper magnum, very fast 6.5 millimeters, but that 264, in my opinion, is the original kind of Magnum 6.5. If there's something I'm forgetting, please mention in the comments. The only reason I'm not putting it in the Hall of Fame is it just never was extremely popular. It does have a very short barrel life, which that alone wouldn't keep it from being in the Hall of Fame, but the 7 mag's just always been a lot more popular, and it's just never really caught on. Now, you can still buy it today. You can go on Winchester's site today in their Model 70s, and you can still buy one. But it just never caught on. It was never extremely popular, and therefore it can't be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. However, man, it's an awesome cartridge. All right, next cartridge in the Hall of Fame is the 260 Remington. So the 260 is just a 308 neck down to 26 caliber or 6.5 millimeter. Came out in 1997. It was standardized at that time. Now, if you know anything about my channel, you know I'm a big fan of the 308, 243, 7mm 08. Haven't talked a ton about the 260. I just have no experience with it. But as would probably be obvious, I like the 260. It's the same lineup. It's just a 6.5 millimeter. So I do know several YouTubers that I've watched in the past 5 or 10 years that was their favorite cartridge of all time. I'm not sure if it still is or not. It can be very, very good at long range. Before the 6.5 Creedmoor kind of jumped on the scene, and even before the 6.5 284 became popular, there was a time there where if you were shooting at long ranges with the 6.5, that was the one to go with. Now, there are other ones, but that one definitely was a popular one in a custom rifle. So it's got definitely has a following in the long range target scene. Definitely a great all around hunting cartridge. I mean, it's fantastic. It did come out with a 1 in 9 twist for a long time, and then with the 6.5 284 and then the 6.5 Creedmoor and the 6.5 PRC all coming out with 1 in 8 twist. Now, if you get a 260, more than likely it will also have a 1 in 8 twists. So that helps it to be good for those 140 to 150 weight bullets in that 6.5 millimeter. There just really is no negatives. It's maybe that 1 in 9 twist at the beginning, but now that's 1 in 8. It's, you know, if you like the Creedmoor and you like the 6.5 284, I mean, it's just right in there with them. Technically, it'd hold a little bit more powder than the Creedmoor case. It's more geared toward hunting, even though, like I talked about, you can with a custom rifle, it can be very good at long range, but it's more geared toward the hunting, the cartridge design itself, than the Creedmoor. But it's just a phenomenal, balanced, all-around awesome cartridge. Definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And here it is, the point where I make half my audience upset. 6.5 Creedmoor, guys, has to be in the Hall of Fame. I know it only came out in 2007, and I know it's overhyped. I was on a podcast with Reloading Weatherby and then also on a live stream, and he asked me what I thought was the most overrated cartridge, and I picked the 6.5 Creedmoor. There is no doubt. It rose to extreme popularity, took the, you know, cartridge scene by storm, and therefore, naturally, it became the flattest shooting, most powerful, greatest round of all time, when in reality, you know it's not, I know it's not. So was it overhyped? Absolutely. But that really was kind of a landmark cartridge for Hornady. not only the success, but some of the design choices where they went with a free bore that was very tight on the sides, but long enough for those heavy, high BC bullets. And they designed it so that even your factory bullets you go buy off the shelf are going to just be very accurate. And you're basically, it's a very cheap way to get kind of a custom level, accurate, and consistent cartridge. It was designed for target shooting, so for those people that hate it, and for hunting, it wasn't designed for hunting. And a 260, in all honesty, is probably a little better choice, unless you think, unless you like the Creedmoor because of how popular and common it is, and it's easier to find brass or something. But if you're just a hunter, the 260 I would say is probably better. But if you're a long-range target shooter, it is good. But you know, if you're wanting something that's popular, common, easy to get, and can be great for a small statured shooter, a kid, I always think of the 6.5 Creedmoor kind of like the 243. Different case, of course, but it's just a light recoiling, easy on the shoulder, easy to work with round. I heard someone the other night saying it's just boring. But they don't like the Creedmoor because it was kind of just boring. It's just, you know, it's just very consistent, very accurate. I don't see a whole lot of negatives with it, and it's already in such a short time definitely placed itself in the Hall of Fame. The only negative is just how much it was overhyped, but it's definitely a cool cartridge. Next cartridge in the Hall of Fame, my personal favorite, the 6.5 millimeter 284 Norma. Now, I've mentioned the 284 Winchester as an honorable mention in my 7mm Hall of Fame cartridge video, but I didn't add it in there, so why would I add this? Well, the main reason is this is still viable. The 284 is fantastic, but it's been dead for a long time. Now, people in the target shooting realm have been picking up on it. Custom gun makers chamber it quite a bit. So people who know are in the know, and they understand how awesome it is. But the 6.5 284 is current. I don't think it's going to last. I think the 6.5 PRC is going to just kill it in the long term. But it definitely is still relevant today. You can still buy it, and it still is chambered in rifles that are on the market today. So for a long time, the 6.5 284 Winchester was a wildcat, just an obvious neck down 284. And at one time it held the world record for the tightest group at 1,000 yards. So it's a very accurate cartridge. I hesitated to say that. You understand there's a lot of variables there with your barrel and your action and your loading, but it was used as the cartridge to have the world record at one time. And now that it's been standardized, it's become a cool hunting caliber, you know. If you like the 6.5 Creedmoor and you like the 260, but you want just a little bit more power, 6.5 284. If you like the 6.5 PRC, but you want just a little bit less recoil, 6.5 284. It's really an awesome cartridge. But if you get one, don't get it in a short action. That's my advice. Get it in a long action or a intermediate action. So if you get the Savage 110, it comes in a long action. I think that's perfect. You can seat the bullet out. It'll have a long enough magazine. But the 6.5 284 Norma is fantastic. It's got one of the best, if not the best, case of all time, and one of the best calibers of all time as far as all around. It's really good. I shoot, the main round I've shot out of mine is the Berger's 140 grain VLD, and it's just dynamite. It's extremely accurate. I've killed one deer with it, but I'm a huge fan of the 6.5 284, and I believe it deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I'll add in an honorable mention, the 6.5-06. I'm not sure why it's never been standardized. You've got the 280, the 270, the 25-06, the 35 Whalen. I'm just not sure why no one's ever standardized the 6.5-06. And a lot of people like that caliber and then Ackley improve it, 6.5 millimeter Ackley improved. I would say both of those are honorable mentions. Okay, and my last 6.5 millimeter cartridge in the Hall of Fame is a 6.5 PRC. Now, it's even newer than the Creedmoor. It's newer than the 6.5 284. But man, it has took the world by storm. It's kind of replicated what the 6.5 Creedmoor done as far as popularity, but it's the 6.5 Creedmoor on steroids. It's even a little faster than my 284. I mean, it was designed for PRS shooting, so it has the same design characteristics when it comes to the chamber and the bullet and the cartridge as the Creedmoor did, to be very accurate, to be very repeatable, consistent. So it's got the long range accuracy part nailed down. However, the case is just on steroids. It's just got a lot more case volume. It's basically a 6.5 short mag. It's kind of what it is. It's just really, really good. I mean, if you like the Creedmoor but you want something with more power, or you like the 260 but you want something with more power, and I mean, it's a better hunting cartridge than the 260 or the Creedmoor if you don't mind a little bit more recoil. It's really just caught on. You know, they just basically took that 375 Ruger case and shortened it down, and then of course necked it down to 6.5 millimeter. Has a 30-degree shoulder angle. It fits in a short action, just barely. I mean, it's pushing the outer limits of it. You know, it's just a phenomenal hunting cartridge, and it's so popular. It's become so popular. I'm pretty sure it's going to kick out my 6.5 284. I think in 20 years, no one's even going to know about that. No one's going to chamber for it. And it's even taken, in my opinion, it's taken the legs out from under the 6.5 Creedmoor. The Creedmoor is still popular, but 6.5 PRC has become like the most popular cartridge the last couple of years. But it's not overhyped. I mean, it's got enough powder in that reservoir to put the thumping on an animal. So it definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It's been nice to sit here and drink coffee with you and talk about rifle cartridges. For some reason, I felt like this one was even harder than the ones before it. I'm sure I've got some people that are going to disagree with me, but that's my pick. The Swede, the 260, the Creedmoor, the 284 Norma, and the PRC. That's my picks, and I think it's 5 pretty darn good 6.5 millimeter cartridges. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you do, please like it. That really helps out the channel. Leave a comment, tell me where I went wrong, or tell me if you agree. And please subscribe. And until next time, have a great day, drink some coffee, and take care.